I'd like to welcome each one here to the Committee of Adjustment, Monday, June 16th, 2025, held here in the Township Council Chambers. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the territory of the Nishnawbe, Ottawa, and Mississauga peoples. That the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves the agenda for the June 16th, 2025 public hearing as presented. May I have a mover? Councillor McBurney, Councillor Van Hitterson, all in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. That the Committee of Adjustment hereby adopts the minutes from the Committee of Adjustment hearing held November 4th, 2024 as presented. May I have a mover? Councillor Whitfield, Councillor Wright, all in favor? Carried. That any decision reached by this committee cannot be used to set a precedent. 6.1, file MV 01-2025, location part lot 2, plan 443, Wingham Ward, Township of North Huron, 262 Summit Drive. Applicant owners Irene Splitzoser. Presentation from the Huron County Planner, Homan. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Thank you to the committee for having me here. So as mentioned, the subject applications are located on Summit Drive. Sorry, Stephanie, you might have to advance slides for me, please. Thank you. So the property is designated residential. It's zoned R1 residential low density. The property contains an existing single detached dwelling. And the proposal, which relates to the variance, is for an extension to the existing single detached dwelling. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. So there's a site photo of the subject property just shown from Summit Drive, looking west. So the committee will see there's an existing single detached dwelling. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, it's to facilitate an extension in the front of the existing dwelling. So it would include a front covered porch as well as an additional front room. And the extension is not proposed to be located where the existing driveway is located. So specifically, they're requesting relief from the front yard setback requirement, which is 6 meters for a single detached dwelling. So that would include any extensions. And they're proposing to reduce that to 4.9 meters. Next slide, please. So there just shows, again, a concept plan, again, showing that addition for a front room and then a covered porch. Next slide, please. Thanks. So again, the site plan is shown here. So the committee should note that again, the 4.9 meter setback is set from the closest place of the proposed extension to the front yard. So there is a portion of the proposal that is either near or meeting that 6 meters. Next slide, please. Again, the following shows some elevations. This was also included in the report. The east elevations are what you would see from the front. Looking from the street. Next slide, please. The following is the south elevations as observed from the neighbor to the south on the side yard. Next slide, please. The following shows the north. So this would be viewing it from the driveway in the north neighboring property. Next slide, please. So in terms of comments, no comments of concern were received from township staff, including Public Works and Building. The property is not within a municipal drain, so that was not a consideration. The township's consulting engineer has no concerns with respect to the road allowance, just noting that sufficient space shall be provided for to maintain the parking space. And again, the proposal is not proposed on the driveway, so that's not anticipated to be impacted. The engineer did note that there was no sidewalk on Summit Drive. Currently, it's just an observation. And then as of current, we have not received any comments from neighbors or members of the public. So the test was considered against the 4 tests of the minor variance, in which the committee is quite familiar with. And the application as listed in my report satisfies the 4 tests. Next slide, please. So the 1.1 meter reduction is considered minor in the context of this proposal. Again, as mentioned, it does maintain the existing driveway and private parking space. There's no anticipated impact on sight lines for the road allowance. Again, noting it's not a corner property and there are no site triangles. And the proposal does maintain the intent of the zoning bylaw. So there's still sufficient front yard space to have a functional front yard. And again, staff are satisfied that there's sufficient setback to the road allowance. And so it is recommended that the application be approved, subject to the following conditions, all of which are your typical standard conditions: that the structure be generally constructed within the footprint that contained the sketch that accompanied the application, the structure be generally constructed as shown in the elevations that accompany the application, and the variance is valid for a period of 24 months from the date of the committee decision. So that would be the timeline to get a building permit. And then just a reminder to the committee that after the hearing, there is a second motion required to the effect of public and agency comments, and I'm happy to provide a recommendation at that point. So happy to answer any questions that the committee may have, and then I will just note that the applicant is also in attendance.
Okay, are there any questions for, we'll do the applicant first. Would she have one opportunity to say anything? Irene? No, okay, thank you. Opportunity for comment by others in attendance? Seeing none. And now it's opportunity for questions, comments by committee members. Go ahead, Deputy Reeve, please.
Thank you, through you, Reeve. Just for my own clarification, the question I have is the changes to that came through with Bill C-16. Being minor in nature, would that not have fell under the new legislation that would not have to have come to the Committee of Adjustment?
Through the chair, so that Bill 17 has passed, but that rule with respect to minor variances automatically being granted the 10% reduction, that regulation has not passed. And furthermore, that regulation was for comment. So we haven't actually seen what the regulation wording looks like. But in that case, what was proposed in the regulation for comment was 10%. So in that case, it would have allowed them 0.6 meters of a reduction. So they wouldn't have been able to get there in that case. But yeah, just for the committee's understanding, that's not in effect as of current because it's a regulation. It wasn't part of the bill. Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions from committee members at all? Seeing none. 6.1.5, summary comments and recommendation by Huron County Planning and Development Department. Planner Hohen, go ahead.
So the second recommendation, since there were recommended that the motion be option A2, that no public comments were received. Oh, sorry, I don't have my mic on. No public comments were received on this application, so there was no effect on the decision. Again, A2. And then with respect to agency comments, B3, that agency comments were received in support of the application, the effect of which resulted in a decision to approve the application.
Okay, thank you. So that the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application MV01-2025 as it applies to part Lot 2, Plan 443, Wingham Ward, Township of North Huron, 262 Summit Drive, applicant and owners Irene Splitzhauser, with the conditions set out in the report presented by Hannah Holman, planner at the June 16th, 2025 Committee of Adjustment hearing. May I have a mover? Councillor Palmer, Councillor McBurney, all in favor? Carried. Yeah, we'll turn over to the clerk now.
So the second recommended motion is that for minor variance application MV01-2025, no public comments were received on this application, so there was no effect on the decision, and agency comments were received in support of the application, the effect of which resulted in a decision to approve the application.
Okay, so that's for A2, B3. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeves, seconder. Councillor Van Hitterson, all in favor? Carried. Reminder of the appeal period, minor variance procedure following public hearing. The Secretary Treasurer sends within 10 days a certified copy of the decision indicating the last day of appealing to the OLT to the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, if requested, each person who appeared in person or by counsel at the hearing and who filed with the Secretary Treasurer a written request for notice of the decision. If no appeal lodged after 20-day objection period has expired and no appeal has been lodged, the decision of the Committee of Adjustment is final and binding. The Secretary Treasurer shall notify the applicant. If a notice of appeal is lodged, the members of the public do not have the right to appeal the decision of the Committee of Adjustment. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, a specified person under the Planning Act, or a public body that has an interest in the matter may appeal the decision. If within 20 days of the Committee of Adjustment making a decision, an appeal is lodged and the Secretary Treasurer outlining the reasons for such an appeal and said appeal is accompanied by the required fee, the Committee of Adjustment no longer retains jurisdiction over the application. If a proper appeal is lodged, the Secretary Treasurer is required to provide a proper notice to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Okay, that there being no further business before the Committee of Adjustment, the June 16th, 2025 public hearing be hereby adjourned at 5:43. May I have a mover? Councillor Palmer, Councillor Wright, all in favor? Carried.